Good day, friends. Today we'll go for another small lecture on soil and water testing. Why there is a need to test soil and water. I have not. This will not be a big lecture. This will be a small lecture. I'll just tell you the importance because if you know actually what functions the soil does, then probably you'll think about why there is a need for testing the soil. The soil testing. It is required for fertilizer recommendation. It's not only the one thing that actually soil provides good crop production, but you know what it does. If you look at the functions of the soils, it sustains plants and animal life that you know. It regulates water movement in soils. It gives physical support to the plant or as well as all others substances or the things that you see in the landscape. It gives support to your building also. Then filtering and buffering of potential pollutants, whatever you apply on the soil surface, it acts as a filter. It's a buffer. It has the capacity to accept everything what you are, but when it goes beyond certain limits, it becomes polluted. Otherwise, it is a good source of filter. It is a filter. When you add anything, any pollutant, then it is passed through the soil profile. It is the microbes, it is the physical properties of the soil, it is clay content. All those things combined physically and biologically acts. They act as physical filters as well biological filters. As well the clay surface, clay lattice, it also you know it also holds many pollutants, and most importantly, it is also important in cycling of nutrients, because all those nitrogen, phosphorus, but all those nutrients, they actually to different cycling process, from organic to inorganic, and then available form comes to the plant nutrient system and soluble in water. The plant uh, are able to take those nutrients, and so these are all five functions that soil does. So there is always, testing of soil and water is highly essential because of these reasons, and this forms also the basis of nutrient applications through manures and fertilizers in soils, for to meet the crop demand, as well as to maintain the soil health, as well as to improve the crop productivity. And so, soil and water testings, you got the importance, the importance of this soil and water testing, because you cannot detach water from the soil, because all the nutrients that are available to the plant, they are in soluble forms, and water plays important role. And if you don't have a good quality water, definitely when that quality water, bad quality water added to the soil, definitely it also make the soil bad. That means if think about the saline water. If the salt concentration is very high in the water, then if you go for application of those water into the soil, or repeated applications of those poor quality irrigation water into the soil, it makes the soil saline in long run. So that means it becomes degraded soil. The importance of both soil and water very important, not only from the crop production point of view, but also for environmental point of view, as well as maintaining soil health also. So if you ask me what are those purpose of soil testing, then probably in this small lecture I'll tell you a few things. Because when you test the soil, what you test for its concentration, whether it's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, boron, copper, iron, manganese, zinc. These are all major micronutrients, as I told you, secondary nutrients. That means you want to know what are the concentration of those nutrients, the quantity of those nutrients per unit volume of soil, gram of soil, something like that. That means it shows whether the soil is particularly deficient or sufficient in that particular nutrient. That means to study the nutrient deficiency symptoms in a plant, crops, agriculture crops and horticulture crops. Then to study the nature of problems, whether this acidity, salinity, or alkalinity, because that shows amount of soluble salts present in the soil. It also shows the available nutrient status. That means when you go for soil testing, you go for soil pH. That means it is the pH, whether acidic or alkaline soils, and through that pH you can guess the nutrient availability of those soils. What are those nutrients? I took the lecture in what pH dependent availability of nutrients is very much important. And then when you go for electrical conductivity, then it talks about it tells you about salt concentration. Then when you get the salt concentration, you probably think of whether it's a neutral soil, whether it's alkaline soil, it's alkali or saline soils. Then to study the fertility status of the soils, farmers field, or maybe any experiments conducted by you, and maybe a farmers field to go about fertilizer application and prescription a particular crop, suitability of that land, particular crops and cropping system, whether the land is suitable for agriculture, horticulture, or maybe any other thing, or maybe for pastures. And to prepare soil health, card and prescribe fertilizer recommendation, that is most important, and to help in proper planning and of soil and water conservation measures. So one important is organic carbon content. So when you talk about soil and water testing, in the soil you go for all physical, chemical, biological properties. I have already taken class what are those physical properties, chemical and biological properties, that also you need to consider. And we go for water also, it go for what is the pH of water, what are the soluble salt concentration, whether calcium, magnesium, sodium content of water, carbonate, bicarbonates. So that gives an indication that whether that soil is good in quality or having a good health, and that water is a good quality water that's suitable for irrigation, maybe suitable for drinking. So all purpose, soil and water testing very much important. And for that, you need to collect the sample properly, then analyze, bring it to laboratory, then maintain that laboratory procedure, and with that SOP, standard operating procedure, you go for analyzing different soil physical, chemical, and biological properties. So this is a small lecture just to show how important is testing and measuring different soil properties and testing soil and water. So friends, this is a small video for you just to improve your knowledge, give you a better understanding of the subject, and it's not a big one. So when you think about going for soil testing, what actually need to do, whether go for sampling procedure, then what are those chemical, physical, and biological properties that needs to be estimated or determined, and what are those instruments are used for determination of those chemical, physical, and biological properties. I will come to that later on in the next class probably. So now you learn what are those importance, what are the importance of soil and water testing in agriculture. So thank you friends, thank you for watching. Keep watching and stay safe and have a great day. Bye bye.